women's 100 meters semi-final at the Commonwealth Games turned into a sprinting masterclass from Julien Alfred. In this video, we analyze how the St. Lucian star controlled the race from the very first meters and destroyed a stacked field filled with elite sprinters. Facing dangerous athletes like Grace Nwokocha, Imani Lansiquot, and Ramona Burchell, Alfred showed incredible composure, sprint mechanics, and maximum velocity. We break down every phase of the race and explain why this performance confirmed her as one of the future stars of world athletics.
Elaine Thompson-Herah, the Olympic champion, floated down the track to 10.99. So too did Nwowa Oko-Ocha, who goes in the first of the semis for Nigeria, exactly the same time. I wonder whether she could challenge her compatriot Okabare's Games record. We shall see. Really good quality lineup here. Absolutely packed at Alexander Stadium. So much great action to come. So here's a confirmation of how they line up. Julien Alfred of St. Lucia goes in 3, one of the fastest women in the world this year. But Nwowa Oko-Ocha of Nigeria in 6 looked magnificent in qualification yesterday. Watch for Joella Lloyd as well in 7. The Antiguan PB and national record in the semi-finals of the NCAAs. Great final in prospect. Who is going to get there? Imani Lansiquot of England will get a great cheer in 5. She's had an excellent season, just off the podium in the World Juniors a few years ago. So here we go. What a magnificent view of the 8 women. The first of 3 semi-finals. So, Hannah Breyer made the final of the World Youth and the World Juniors, 4th in Heat 4. Welsh woman's done brilliantly to come through from that inside lane. I wonder whether she'll take inspiration from Jeremiah Azu. Veronica Pereira, a national record in the heats. Could she go again here in the semis? Now, Julien Alfred, disqualified in the semis at the World Champs, needs to maintain her focus. Massive PBs, down from 11.07 to 10.81 this season. Odobile Toshoa, a World Youth semi-finalist, didn't finish the African final in Mauritius. Will hope to go better here. And listen to the cheer for Imani Lansiquot. 3rd in the national championship. She's developing into a brilliant, brilliant sprinter. So good to watch when she's in full flow. As is the woman in the lane next to her, Grace Nwowa Oko-Ocha. 10.99 in qualification, and it looked utterly effortless, but the stakes have risen. This is the semis, not the heats. Joella Lloyd looked good as well in qualification. She's had a PB and a national record this year, semi-finalist in Eugene over the 200 metres. And Ramona Burchell of Jamaica, world indoor finalist a few years ago. So look for an explosive start from her. She was 2nd in Heat 7 with 11.46, and will need to go quicker here. So Breyer, Wales in 1, Pereira, Singapore in 2, Alfred, St. Lucia, one of the fastest women in the world this year in 3, Toshoa, Botswana 4, Lansiquot, England in 5, Nwowa Oko-Ocha, Nigeria in 6, Lloyd, Antigua 7, Burchell, Jamaica in lane 8. I've got a funny feeling this women's 100-metre final later on this evening could provide something very, very special indeed. Let's see what Nwowa Oko-Ocha has for us here in lane 6. And Alfred of St. Lucia in 3. Top 2 coming back for what promises to be a blistering final.
Set.
A big roar from the crowd. Lansiquot got away well, and on the far side Alfred, and she's pulling away from the Nigerian. This is better from Julien Alfred. Alfred and Nwowa Oko-Ocha take the 2 spots, 11.03, a little bit tighter this time by the Nigerian, who came through for 2nd because she was put under pressure out of her peripheral vision by Julien Alfred, who once she got into her running was unstoppable. Lansiquot will have to wait to see whether she can get in the mix for one of those non-automatic spots, but that's more like it by the St. Lucian. Massive moment for her after her disappointment at the World Champs. And Nwowa Oko-Ocha will be back for the final. Lansiquot will have to wait and see in 3rd.
And here's the replay. And Alfred in lane number 3 got out well, had a good drive phase there, and then stood up nice and tall. should have been fully aware of the athletes outside her, including the English athlete Lansiko and the Nigerian closing down. But now we're seeing the athletes in these semi-finals with their foot on the gas. And when you have the disappointment that Alfred had at the World Championships recently, as Rob said, with that DQ in the semi-final, you get a little bit of extra fire in your belly to prove what you are all about. And let's not forget, 10.81 seconds this year, which is into the final comfortably.
Good running there by Julien Alfred. And Woa Oka-Ocha, not quite the fireworks we saw in the heats. Imani Lansiko might have a chance at 11.18, although she faces an anxious wait with the other two semi-finals still to come.
The women's 100 metres semi-final at the 2022 Commonwealth Games was supposed to be competitive. Instead, it became a statement. Julien Alfred did not simply qualify for the final. She dominated one of the strongest semi-final fields of the championships and reminded the athletics world why she was rapidly becoming one of the most feared sprinters on the planet. The context surrounding this race made the performance even more significant. Only weeks earlier, Alfred had experienced one of the most frustrating moments of her young career at the World Championships. After entering the competition with enormous expectations following her 10.81 breakthrough, she was disqualified in the semi-final round. For many athletes, that type of disappointment can create hesitation or insecurity. Sprinting at the elite level is heavily psychological. One mistake can linger in the mind and affect reaction times, aggression, and confidence in future races. But Birmingham revealed something important about Alfred's mentality. She arrived focused, composed, and determined to reassert herself immediately. Rather than racing cautiously, she attacked the semi-final with the mindset of an athlete, sending a message to the rest of the field. The lineup itself was far from easy. Grace Nwokocha had already demonstrated excellent form earlier in the competition, running 10.99 with apparent control. Her acceleration phase and relaxation at high speed made her a legitimate threat. Imani Lansiko entered with the advantage of crowd support and rising confidence, while Jamaica's Ramona Birchell remained dangerous because of her explosive starting ability. This was not a semi-final where athletes could afford mistakes or passive execution. From the blocks, Alfred immediately showed discipline. Her reaction was sharp but not reckless. One of the defining features of elite sprinting is the balance between aggression and control during the opening phase. Athletes who overforce their start often lose rhythm during transition, while athletes who hesitate lose valuable ground immediately. Alfred found the perfect balance. Technically, her drive phase was one of the cleanest in the race. Her shin angles remained low and efficient, allowing her to apply horizontal force effectively into the track. Rather than popping upright too early, she maintained acceleration mechanics through the opening meters, gradually building velocity with each stride. This is a critical difference between good sprinters and elite sprinters. Elite athletes do not rush to maximum speed. They build toward it systematically. By 30 meters, Alfred was already beginning to separate. At 40 meters, the race visibly changed. While the rest of the field was still transitioning upright, Alfred looked smoother, taller, and more relaxed. Her stride frequency remained exceptionally high, but what stood out most was her efficiency. There was minimal wasted movement in the shoulders or upper body. Her head remained stable, her arms moved cleanly through compact sprint mechanics, and her foot strikes landed directly beneath the center of mass. This efficiency became decisive during the maximum velocity phase. Nwokocha attempted to respond from the outside lanes, and Lansiko fought hard in the center of the track, but Alfred's top-end speed proved superior. Once she reached full velocity, the gap widened almost immediately. The race no longer looked competitive over the final meters. Alfred was operating at a different speed level entirely. What makes her sprinting style particularly dangerous is how relaxed she appears while accelerating away from elite competition. Many sprinters display visible strain when attempting to maintain maximum velocity. Alfred, however, often looks composed even at top speed. That relaxation matters because tension is the enemy of sprinting efficiency. Tight shoulders, clenched hands, or excessive upper body movement create energy loss and disrupt rhythm. Alfred avoided all of those issues in Birmingham. Another important element of this performance was tactical maturity. Semi-finals are different from finals. The objective is qualification, not necessarily maximal effort. Many athletes struggle to balance energy conservation with the need to secure automatic advancement. Alfred executed that balance perfectly. She established control early, distanced herself decisively, and never appeared to enter panic mode. There was confidence in every phase of the race. The psychological impact on the rest of the field was also significant. Sprint championships are often influenced by perception. When one athlete dominates a semi-final in commanding fashion, it changes how rivals approach the next round. Alfred's performance forced the rest of the finalists to recognize that defeating her would require something extraordinary. She did not merely qualify, she established herself as the athlete everyone else needed to chase. For St. Lucia, the race carried even greater importance. Historically, Caribbean sprinting has been dominated by Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and occasionally the Bahamas. Alfred represented the emergence of a new sprinting force from a smaller nation rarely associated with global sprint dominance. Every major performance she produced elevated the visibility of St. Lucian athletics internationally. From a developmental perspective, her rise also reflected the growing globalization of women's sprinting. The event was no longer controlled exclusively by traditional powerhouses. Athletes from multiple nations were now capable of producing world-class performances, increasing the overall depth and unpredictability of championship sprinting. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of the semi-final was the emotional control Alfred displayed after previous disappointment. Many young sprinters possess raw speed, but championship success requires resilience. The ability to respond immediately after failure is often what separates talented athletes from future champions. Birmingham suggested Alfred possessed that quality in abundance. As she crossed the finish line, the message was unmistakable. This was not simply an athlete recovering from a setback. This was a sprinter evolving into one of the defining names of women's sprinting. The semi-final became more than a qualification race. It became confirmation that Julien Alfred had both the physical tools and the competitive mentality necessary to challenge the very best in the world. And perhaps most importantly, the performance hinted that her ceiling had not yet been reached.